Amazing how many people don't know how to fix a flat tyre on a bike. Well, they know, but they don't really know the secrets. Lots of people say not to turn the bike upside down. Turn it upside down. It's much easier. Check that the wheel can spin freely. Clean the tyre off with baby wipe or something if necessary, so that you can look for whatever it is that is causing the puncture. First thing you want to look at is the valve. See whether that might be the problem. Could just be that if this is unscrewed a little bit, if it's suppressed a valve like this, it might have just got knocked, or someone may have even tampered with it. So check the valve first. Could just be that all you need to do is pump it up. Right, if that's not the case, and if it's a slow puncture, you will have to pump it up to find where it's gone flat. So I can see something here already, right here. Looks like this might be the culprit. So I'm going to look where it is in relation to the valve. Yeah, that's a little sharp stone there, tiny sharp stone that's come out. And I very much suspect that that is going to be it. All you need for a flat tyre on most bikes these days which have quick release wheels is these and an inner tube, and that's it. So again, we need to make a little note where it is in relation to the valve. So it's about 4 inches to the right of the valve. So we're going to use the tyre lever, and these tyre levers have a little hook, so you can hook them onto the spoke. It's not going to damage the wheel. Let's start this side of the valve, and then from here we can take the other one, and we can just go around like this, turn the wheel, and now just go around like that. Now from here, this is how to get this out. You don't want to be damaging these tubes because they might be repairable, right? So we need to get this tyre up and off that tube. So we won't go to it there. I'm going to go somewhere here. In fact, I don't think I'm even going to need to use a lever. I'm just going to pull that tyre off with the inner tube inside it, okay? From the other end of the tyre. Yeah, I might just need a little bit of a lever to help. Let's just use both hands to double the power. There we are. Double the power. One hand wasn't enough. So we've just pulled that off now. Remember, the inner tube's inside it, okay? Remember this because we're going to do the reverse for getting it back off again. So now that we can unhook that there, we can lift that out. Okay, so think about that in terms of getting it back in. I haven't even taken the wheel off yet, and that's off. Now I'm going to undo the quick release. Normally you would take the wheel off first, but it's actually quite handy to be able to just spin it round and get to the bottom and then the top. But we're going to take it off now. So you should really do this with the wheel off, because I just have to guide the tyre there, you see, through the brake blocks, which can be tricky. If you don't want to get oil on your fingers, use the hook part of the tyre lever. So again, this end comes off. The inner tube is all inside the tyre. This end comes off, and then this end lifts out, valve and all. So remember that when it's going back on. We're going to do the exact thing in reverse when it goes back on. So where was our hole? It was there. And here's the inner tube. So we want to make sure we keep track of where that hole was. Just here. Just here somewhere. Just about there. And we're going to put some air in the inner tube. Going to get the inner tube out. Here's my pump. So again, remembering we're 4 inches to the right of that valve. And we're going to put the pump on now, and we're going to start pumping it up. It's a slow puncture, so we should have plenty of time to detect the air coming out. I find the best way to feel the air coming out if it's a very small puncture is against your lips. Of course, the actual stone may have been holding it shut and making it into a slow puncture because of the stone being in the hole still. Yep, there it is. So I felt it with my lips there. So this is definitely a repairable one, this. So that's ready to be repaired. You need a little bit of air in your new inner tube to make it work. But remember what I said. The first thing to do is to get it into the tyre. Forget about the wheel, just get it into the tyre. So that is in the tyre now, you see that? I've put the inner tube in the tyre, but it's not yet on the wheel. So now I'm just going to put a tiny bit of air in, not much, just a small amount. Okay, that was 5 pumps of air. Almost nothing. And now we first of all we put our gloves back on. That valve into their hole there. Into that hole. Okay, and now we go to the other end and we get the bead on all the way around first of all, till we get to the other end. So you want to be pulling this bead towards you, kind of towards you, so that it ends up in the divot in the middle of the wheel, where the diameter is less. Bicycle wheels have a smaller diameter, you see, in the divot in the middle of the wheel than they do at the edge. So we're pulling this bead kind of towards us as we go round and keeping it in the middle. And that just clicked on because of that. Now we will do the same on the other side. So we get the bead on there where the valve is, okay, because we don't want to mess around with pulling tyres near the valve. And then, so this is the bead, the downside that we're pulling on. We're just getting my fingers gripping it so that that bead is in the middle. So that this bead along here is in the middle of the wheel. And I'm also pulling my hands against each other to keep force, to stretch the tyre so that it wants to go into that divot. And we're pulling now the tyre towards ourselves and working our way around. Again, you don't want much air in the tyre for this. I'm just going to brace it on the wall there for a second. Continue into that divot, into that divot, into that divot, into that divot. We're coming to the end now, and ping, it goes on. And these are not easy tyres to get on, but by doing that trick of pulling the bead, always pulling this bead, whichever way you're going, pulling this bead into that divot in the centre of the wheel where the wheel is a smaller diameter, makes it very easy. Now we put the wheel back on. And remember how we did this? We just can hook this chain on with this and not get the gloves oily. Even though we're wearing gloves, we don't want to get oily gloves because then the oil's going to go everywhere from the gloves. We want that to go there. We pull against the spring tension of the gear mechanism to get it to go on there like that. And go around a few times with this. Make sure it's straight against the frame there. Look down it, see if it looks in line with the frame. If it doesn't, adjust it. Check it on both sides, the alignment, both down at the brake blocks and at the pedal crank. And I like to close these quick release levers right against the actual frame, so that they're much harder to get a finger under to undo for someone trying to steal the wheel, say. So here's what I was talking about with the quick release lever. So you fold it against the frame like that. and you'll get a nice, it's much harder for someone to then get their finger underneath it and try and pull it up. So now we just go around, check it's all seated in nicely, and then we're going to pump it up, not all in one go, just give it a bit to start with and see how it's going. Put your thumb on there so that you are pushing against where that valve is so that we don't damage the inner tube. Should be easy to pump straight away. If it's not easy to pump, you haven't fully engaged the pump. So now after about 10 or 12 pumps, I'm going to take the pump off and just check it's all seated as it should be. It all seems good. Can't hear any hisses either. You know, you could have more than one puncture. So there, with these Prestas, don't unscrew them all the way, just unscrew them just enough to make them work. And another little trick, sometimes the rubber valve on the pump is gets a little bit old, a bit loose. What you can do is you can pull on the pump upwards to hold it in place and put your foot on the saddle. So it's another good reason to do this with the bike upside down. So you're holding the bike down and you're pulling upwards, and that will ensure that even with a bad old pump, you should be able to get enough air in before it starts to leak and blow off. So again, I usually check at about this stage that the tyre's not creeping out anywhere. You can normally check visually. If it's too easy to pump, you know you've probably still got a problem. And this is getting really hard, this tyre. And that's rock solid now. Undo the lever, pull it off, retighten the little Presta valve thing. Doesn't need to be super tight, but it does need to be snug. They are quite easily damaged, these valves. And put your cap back on, unless you've lost it, which I've often done. Fold up your pump, give the wheel a spin, check it's not brushing anything, check it's not hitting the brake blocks, check that your brakes work as well. Make sure your gears are all working, and you are good to go. And finally, before you put these tyre levers away, sometimes good to carry some baby wipes with you, because look at the oil from the chain. And sometimes you're still going to get some on your hands. It's amazing how many times I have forgotten to put my gloves on until I've got started. Just get all carried away with trying to do it quickly. Forget to put the gloves on and spend 5 minutes trying to get the oil off my hands. So anyway, a little baby wipe is handy for getting a bit of oil off your fingers. Just enough to make you presentable when you get to, you know, the restaurant or the cafe or whatever. You're a bit more presentable now, you see. A little bit on my thumb there. All nice and clean. One baby wipe. And now these are clean as well. These ones are Bontrager ones. The Schwalbe ones are thinner. These ones are okay. I think the Schwalbe ones you get 3, and the Bontrager ones you only get 2 for some reason. But you actually only need 2. You don't need 3. They're supposed to click together. They've lost a bit of their Lego clickiness. And I have a old wash bag here, fake leather wash bag. Yeah, fake leather. And in it, I have an excellent multi-tool from Lidl, which has every bike tool you could want, even has a chain breaker on it. I always have a few spare ones of these in there, because you'd be amazed how many you lose when you're changing a tyre. I've actually also got a spare one of these, which is for the valve, holding the valve in place on certain inner tubes. I've got a spare chain link in case my chain breaks. Quick one that you can put together with hand. These obviously go in there, and my pump goes in there, just fits, and the gloves go in there. That is my entire bike kit. repair kit. Like I said, it goes in one of these nice traditional wash bags, zips up, and then all I need to know is that I've thrown that in my bag and I'm good. Obviously I also have tend to have them loose in my bag in the past because I couldn't fit them in here with the tools, but actually since I've thinned this down a bit, I could fit a spare inner tube in there as well. I like to have two, because obviously a bike has two wheels, and also sometimes you muck it up. So we've got a spare inner tube in there. That's it. That's the kit I take with me. Hope that's been of use to people. Look how nice and fully pumped up that tyre is now. And if you do have a slow puncture like I had there, and it's going down in sort of 10 minutes as that one was, I was managing to do about 3 miles, two or 3 miles before that tyre went down. About 2 miles I think, and then it would be gone and I'd have to pump it up again. Well, I'd rather do that. I'd rather pump up the tyre every 2 miles than try and fix it on the roadside. Pump it up every 2 miles and fix it at home here like this. It's much more comfortable. I've got everything around me, and I've even got some different tools. I've got more spare inner tubes and all sorts that I can use if I have to. So there it is. Easy way of doing a puncture repair. One final word. If you have left things on the ground and you're bending down to pick them up, best not to do it with your bike upside down, and then you won't get bike oil on your shoulder.